Chapter 6 Season 3 followed a season in which I can say with absolutely zero exaggeration might possibly be the worst season in years. A season which took everything I loved about the game and steamrolled it into a watered-down corporate shell of its former self, which siphoned any and all previous enjoyment I had from the game as if it was a succubus of fun. And after all that, I still only ended up calling it mid. What was I thinking? So it was safe to say that the game couldn't really go further downhill from there. And yet here I was thinking that not only was it possible for me to enjoy the game less, but it was in fact likely. See, this is what 2 years of mediocrity does to a person. And can you really blame me for thinking that Chapter 6 Season 3 wasn't really going to be any good? We've done the superhero theme 3 times already. Surely there weren't that many ideas left. I've got it. I love it. And yet, despite all my reservations toward this season, Epic Games have been flip-flopping with this game more than a pair of flip-flops. Is that the best we can do? Turned around and offered what might possibly be the best season in genuine years, complete with new and creative gameplay ideas, POIs that actually feel like they belong in the game, and an overwhelming sense of, yeah. Oh, well, there you have it, folks. That tells you all you need to know. But this season was far from perfect. And don't worry, we'll get to that later. When the Chapter 6 map was revealed to us, I was quick to put it amongst the greatest Fortnite maps of all time. I mean, it had bright colors, fun and interesting POIs that weren't just buildings and towns. I'm looking at you, Chapter 5. It all just flowed well together, like a tranquil river by the shore. Well, that didn't last long, did it? Season 2 took the near perfection that was the Season 1 map and gave it a swirly, which resulted in POIs like shiny shafts being given the light of day. Shiny shafts in particular has been removed of the entire point of its existence, that being the shafts. That's like taking Spider-Man and removing the spider, leaving man. And I could look past the POI changes that I still think are a little bit boggling if it wasn't for the fact that the color scheme of the bio makes me feel as though I'm living in a real-life simulation of my back field. I'm in Fortnite! The colors of the crime biome are so boring and dull that it makes me not want to go anywhere near that location, which sucks because it takes up a third of the entire map. And then to make things worse, the very next season they added the Star Wars POIs, one of which barely changed anything and was reverted back the very next season anyway. The other was so far out that there was barely any point in it existing anyway, and the other two, they were alright, actually. But none of these POIs felt like they belonged in Fortnite, which makes sense because they were all Star Wars locations, you numpty. By the end of the Star Wars season, the map felt directionless and gave an overall sense of not knowing what the hell was going on. The locations felt random and out of place, not to mention the fact that they didn't really feel like a Fortnite location. Now, how could they change this? How can they make a location feel like a Fortnite POI? I don't bloody know! What do I look like, an esteemed game journalist and designer fresh out of developing Elden Hoop? An Astro droid? No! But what does this have to do with Chapter 6 Season 3? Well, Fortnite Super follows the aftermath of the Death Star Sabotage live event where we worked with Hope and Jones to destroy the Death Star, the debris of which came raining down upon the island, eventually striking the active Spirit Realm portal. This caused a reality wave to spread across the island, resulting in certain island inhabitants developing supernatural abilities. You better be getting this down because this is going to be important later. Jones, Hope, and the Night Rose decided to establish the Supernova Academy in order to train this new generation of heroes to defeat the incoming threat of the Spirit Realm. We'll get more into the story later, but that's the general idea. The story is important to the changes on the map this season for multiple reasons. Not only because it gives a location a practical use inside of the game world, but it also provides context and a backstory as to why and how these locations are there to begin with. Remember Crime City, which just appeared overnight for no reason? Or what about Outpost Enclave, which was once a cherry tree grassland, which overnight turned into a desert outpost for Mandalorians using sand that wasn't even on the bloody island to begin with? The simple explanation of just informing us as to why the Supernova Academy is in the game is more than enough to immerse us in the world and to give us an understanding as to why it's there to begin with. It also helps that the location feels like it belongs in the game world, despite it having absolutely no similarities in design with anything else on the map other than the location that came into the game alongside of it. We'll get to you later. What I'm trying to say is that Supernova Academy, despite being completely unique aesthetically speaking, still feels like a Fortnite location, and it captures that feeling by feeling as though it tangibly exists within the game world for a purpose, which is something that some of the more recent locations have failed to do. Demon's Domain does this well too. It is by far the most unique POI on the island right now. Look at it, there's a literal vortex cloud above it and a demon portal beneath it, and everything in the middle lacks its flavor for this strange yet delicious sandwich. Demon's Domain is created because Daigo needs a base while he's on the island, and of all the places he could have constructed his domain, the location of his family's old mask shop is the perfect place to go. If Demon's Domain just randomly showed up in the place of Twinkle Terrace. What are these names? Then I probably would have had more to say. Utopia City might come across as a location which just appears from thin air for absolutely no reason at a glance, but if you take the time to talk to the characters around the island, then you'd learn that Midas had actually funded Utopia City as a safe place to keep the portal to the 0 Point Vault. More on that later. Aesthetically speaking, Utopia City was amazing. I enjoyed landing here every so often, and yet despite there being over 25 chests in this singular location, I could never find anything. It felt as though the buildings were lacking in loot, which leads to a less than ideal early game if there were more than 3 people going to Utopia City. Where the POIs failed to stick the landing for me, however, is in the final weeks of the season. Throughout the entirety of the season, Fortnite had accidentally kept in the name of the final questline of the season, that being the fall of the Supernova Academy. Now, the way the characters speak in-game about this event would make you think that Daigo committed a small terrorist attack on Supernova Academy, blood everywhere, the dead pile up in the street, but in actuality, he just knocked over Agent Jones's computer. Huh? This act of aggression was so bad that it genuinely convinced Hope that Daigo was fully beyond saving and that it was time to genuinely kill him, all while in the Expeditions game mode claiming that we need to do everything in our power to save him. What? We'll get to you later. But I swear there's something a reviewer is supposed to do while reviewing a game. I mean, I'm really stumped here, guys. Oh, yeah. Now, I'm aware that a lot of your attention spans have been nullified because of the Blitz mode, so I'll keep this brief. Most of Fortnite seasons have a loot pool which boils down to a meta of shotguns, assault rifles, healing items, and mobility items, leading to boring and predictable matches with no variety. Chapter 6 Season 3 does something different. There isn't necessarily a meta in Chapter 6 Season 3, and that's because everything is so bloody strong. You have the Synthwave Gauntlets, which are mainly used as mobility items throughout the season, which allowed you to traverse the map horizontally as well as vertically several times in rapid succession, depending on the rarity. The Kill Switch Tracking Visor, which allowed you to scan the area around you every 30 seconds or so, allowing you to see the exact location of players. How this wasn't nerfed is beyond me. The Kill Switch Revolvers, which allowed you to negate fall damage as well as slow down literal time. Morgan Mist's, Mist Gauntlets, which while not being very strong against most enemies, were very helpful against medallion bosses as well as the spires littered around the island. The Storm Cloak, which allowed you to negate any damage, including storm damage, for up to 10 seconds straight. Beast Mode, which allowed you to turn into a literal creature at any point during the game and ruin Jade and do things as day. The Surf Cube, which allowed you to practically fly, and not forgetting boons. All of the superpowers fit into this season in a natural and coherent way, which made every item usable for different situations and playstyles. It's great! My personal favorite loadout for this season was the Twinfire Shotgun, the Fury Assault Rifle, Mini Shields or a Chug Jug, the Tracking Visor, and the Synthwave Gauntlets for movement. So in other words, I'm boring. I am incredibly relieved that they removed some weapons from the loot pool which encouraged a meta. For example, the Hollow Twister Assault Rifle. This thing was just too good. Not only was it a red dot weapon, not only did it have decently fast damage output and fire rate, but it was also hit scan, meaning that it was one of the only weapons in the game other than the red dot SMG to have 100% accuracy. Luckily, they took it out of the game this season, which allowed for other assault rifles to come into the forefront, and now the only red dot weapon we have in the game is the SMG, which is very manageable. Good job, Epic Games. That only took you 4 years to figure out that hit scan, red dot, and assault rifles don't go well together. What will they figure out next? How to balance shotguns? Right? The Outlaw Shotgun. This Aztecian piece of machinery at best lies somewhere between a toothpick and barely competent. Such praise. Speaking of praise, good job on subscribing and using code BigCraigd in the Fortnite item shop. I'm so proud of you. You did do that, didn't you? I swear the Outlaw Shotgun has less consistency than my upload schedule, because not only do you need to be right up inside of someone's orifices to do more than 12 damage, but you need to have the luck of Lucky the Leprechaun, real name by the way. How long did it take you to come up with that one? Because sometimes this thing will hit for 180 damage, and other times it'll hit for 15. Spin the wheel, spin the wheel, spin the wheel. Why would I want to waste my time on a shotgun that's as reliable as a sheep on stilts when I could just use the pump shotgun or the fabulous Twinfire Shotgun? I didn't like the DMR either. I liked that all the assault rifles had unique uses. The Fury had the fire rate, the Spire had the mag size, the DMR had the range, but at the end of the day, the DMR just wasn't that useful to me. The Crypto Tree. I'm sure Nick A30 had a blast with this thing, but people don't really stay still long enough for this to be viable, at least to me. The Superman abilities released like a week ago as of the time of recording this, and while a lot of people were excited for it, they didn't really jive with it. You know, jive! Personally, as a man who used it one entire time, I find it fun but a little underpowered, which is completely irrelevant because he was buff last week as of the time of writing this script, so at this point he could have the strength of a small nuclear warhead and I'd have no idea. Journalism. And that's kind of it for the weapons I dislike this season. And considering that one of them is an unvaulted weapon, one is a remake of a weapon that's already been made 3 times, and the other is a literal dog, I don't think they did too bad. And you might be asking why I didn't include the exotic DMR or the grenade in here, and that's because I didn't use them. Journalism. Exotics this season were able to be bought through NPC's expertise quest or could be obtained by eliminating Overlord spires around the island. Now you know me, I love a good mid-match objectives. The expires were a welcome addition, I just didn't use them a ton, which is exactly why these spires take up exactly 38 words in this entire script. One thing I did get a big use out of, however, was the match leveling system, which is so good that it might genuinely bring me to tears. For those of you who haven't played the season by now, in which case, you're leaving it a bit late, aren't you? Every heroic action you do in the game, like surviving storm circles, defeating spires, and killing people, that can't be right, will result in your hero rank going up. Your hero rank can go from C to S+. Why wasn't it just D to S? No clue. The more ranks you unlock, the more superhero chests you can open, which will grant you access to higher tier loot like the beast mode pom-poms and the mythic 6th wave gauntlets. Once you reach S tier, you'll unlock a special perk for your boons. What are those perks? I forgot. And once you reach S+, you'll be granted access to every available boon in the game, as well as their special ability. Sounds perfectly balanced, but it wasn't really overly common for people to reach S+. This feature encourages more aggressive gameplay and rewards players for being good at the game or going out of their way to complete mid-match objectives, therefore giving players an incentive for actually doing something. It's the perfect game! One of the main strategies I had this season was landing at a totally unrelated POI like Crime City and Whiffy Wharf. I'm just joking, Whiffy Wharf was taken out of the game a few seasons ago now. I bet you didn't even know it was in the game to begin with. And from there, I would simply focus on upgrading my hero rank until I reached either Supernova Academy or the Academy Tech Labs that were littered throughout the island. In these areas, there were certain locations that were locked off to players who didn't have a high enough hero rank, which meant that the players who landed at these locations were very unlikely to have looted these unreachable places. This meant that I could rock up 10 minutes into the game, open the door, and be granted with 50% of the entire POI's loot potential. It was so good. I don't care what they're doing next season, the hero ranks were an amazing part of the season and made matches infinitely less boring. Keep them around forever, please. Now the story this season is where things start to get a little bit colder. We had a strong, great start. We had Daigo coming back from the spirit realm. We had a strong theme which tied to the storyline. Every character in the battle pass had something to do and their own personality. Morgan Mist was appointed leader of the Supernovas, but she just wasn't confident in herself. Killswitch was a suck up to every single professor at the academy. And Light Rider, well, Light Rider was just an asshole. Now, I saw quite a few people on that place complaining about Light Rider's characterization, and my response to that is, what? We've gone 8 years with every character basically being good guy with no flaws 56 or super Hitler, no in between. Like, the Origin, I guess, was the closest we had to a morally grey character in the entire Fortnite storyline up until Chapter 6. But the closest thing he was to being morally grey was not immediately trusting the woman who teamed up with the Fortnite equivalent of the Nazis. And then we got Light Rider, who basically just went,
oh yeah, I'm well cool, I don't really want to be friends with these guys.
And people started crying about it. It gets boring when every character is the same. I'm glad Light Rider isn't perfect. The real characterization problem is with him. My personal favorite Fortnite character of all time, Agent Jones, is being mischaracterized purely because the game cannot seem to tell whether they want him to be depressed or not. After Jones lost literally every single person in his life, from his family to everyone at the IO to all of the 7, and the only person he still has left is a literal banana, which really is just him again, it would make sense to why he's so angry and depressed. His dialogue, character descriptions, even his own voice lines in Chapter 5 Season 3 all led to the current Jones being different to the one we had in Chapters 2 and 3. He's been changed ever since losing everyone he cares about. He's become apathetic to the hero lifestyle. He doesn't care about himself as much anymore, which we can see because of the stubble on his face. This is a different Jones who has lived through several big events and has been changed.
Hey, Tony's back.
Oh yeah.
When the society took Peely, I couldn't focus on anything but vengeance. Watching you choose justice and do the right thing over and over again, it helped me find my way back to who I really am.
Okay, I guess maybe the events of Season 3 and 4 have brought him back to the hero lifestyle, and his father-like relationship with Hope has rescued him from his depressive state he was in throughout the first half of the chapter. Okay, that's cool. Only for him to go back to being depressed and mean again in the very next season. He threatens Kendo for literally existing. Will you chill out? And it doesn't end there. After moping around for half the chapter, we head over to the Death Star Sabotage, and Jones is joking around again, role-playing as a Jedi, and for some reason has no teeth. I guess he's finally come to accept the hero, only for for him to go back to being mean and horrible again in the very next day. Can we just pick a lane? I have absolutely no problem with Jones being darker and grittier. I think character development is great, but they keep flip-flopping on what they want his personality to be. It's like they're too scared to ask Troy Baker to be mean, so they just stick with the old happy-go-lucky, all my friends aren't dead Jones from, let me just check here, 3 years ago. Small nitpick, did Iron Man just not care that the 7 were all dead? The Foundation and Iron Man worked together pretty closely during Zero War, and after 2 years, Iron Man comes back and he's basically dead. Does he not care? If there's a group of characters characterization I do like, it's the Mass Siblings, or whatever they're called. Kendo, Daigo, and Jade have all been consistently handled throughout the entirety of the chapter, and I particularly like where Kendo and Daigo are headed character-wise. Daigo is just being handled so perfectly this chapter. I love what they're doing with him. The overall story this season as well has been pretty good, I won't lie. Unlike in season 1 and 2, we're actually doing things to progress the story, or at least figure things out that we didn't know before. Where the story gets weak for me is with the fall of the Supernova Academy. See, I told you we'd talk about this later. So you're telling me Daigo raids Supernova Academy, the entire school shuts down, everyone is forced to leave, it's so irreparable to the point where they build a shrine for it, and yet all they did was change the color of the ground and knock a few things over. Come on, man. This single act from Daigo was apparently enough to send Hope over the edge to the point where she says that there's no point saving him, that we need to kill him. Like, relax, woman, he knocked over a chair. This is especially not helped by the addition of LEGO Fortnite Expeditions, which was marketed as a sort of Fortnite storyline game mode that we all wanted for years. Except it's LEGO. And even though this is the storyline game mode, we can't seem to keep simple story details consistent between the modes, such as where the story takes place. Is the Chapter 6 island even canon? Does the whole of Chapter 6 take place in these LEGO Expedition locations? Or maybe Expeditions take place in another reality Lego's invading alongside the Chapter 6 island, and it just so happens that this other reality is the exact same locations and theming as it does in the Chapter 6 island. Oh, it's so confusing! I also didn't like how suddenly all of the supernovas got over their flaws. Like, Morgan Mist is suddenly confident that she could become a good leader, Light Rider stops being an asshole for literally no reason. I understand that the whole point of the fall of the Supernova Academy brought the supernovas together as a sort of found family where they learn from each other, help each other find the confidence in themselves, and become better people. But there's only so far you can go when most of the story you convey is through a line of text that slowly crawls across the screen. Voice lines didn't save this problem, but they definitely help. Listen to Agent Jones's reality log, and even if we didn't know anything about this character prior, we know what he's feeling, why he's feeling it, and what he's gonna do about it. It's brilliant.
What's the point of recording these logs if you're not going to listen? We've lost control of the 0 point. Do you get what that means? You must not, because you're doing nothing. I've dedicated my life to the Order. I've given everything. And for what? To just sit back and watch reality end? That's not who we are. At least it's not who I am. Not anymore.
The reason I'm bringing this up is that as of the time of writing this, I have no idea what live events are happening, whether the Chapter 6 finale is going to be a collab event or a story event. At this point, we kind of need to assume that the character stories are all we're going to be getting, and if we're not going to be getting crazy big live events like we used to, and instead we're going to be getting character stories, then I think at the very least they need to be developed properly, displayed properly, and have some kind of payoff other than the issue being randomly resolved. But other than that, I'm quite a big fan of the lore this season. So I think it goes without saying that that entire segment was recorded before the Super Showdown announcement. The event announcement doesn't really change my opinions on anything though, because this video is going live before the event actually happens. So I mean, I can't really judge the quality, can I? I'm sure it'll be fine. My point still stands though. After the last two summer events, people really thought that Epic would give it their all this season. I mean, after all, our last two seasonal events were a 2-week Halloween season, which was practically its own season, and Mariah Carey. What? This season's summer event, we had a free skin, a new game mode with weekly updates, more free rewards, and daily unvaults for 2 weeks. But that wasn't enough. Look, I know I'm going to be hung, drawn, and quartered for simply considering to have this opinion, so we'll just get it out of the way right now. This year's summer event wasn't bad. And just to clear the air, last year's summer event wasn't bad either. I know I made a video complaining about last year's summer event, calling it the worst one by far, but listen to me, my heart wasn't in it. It sounds like I'm about to fall asleep. Fortnite released its new summer event the other day, and we have a lot to talk about. Well, actually, maybe old me had a point, because in the very next video, I somehow predicted the superhero rank system as well as the entire Blitz game mode. Whoa, I was on a roll.
And as you do things in the game, like dealing damage, getting kills, healing, opening chests, the meter fills. Just bring back the Blitz LTM.
The only thing this year was really missing was map changes. Other than that, they added everything you could really need. Ooh, the free rewards were stinky. Yeah. Maybe they were. But my guy, we got a free skin. Like, will you pipe down? Or would you prefer we got the Cybertruck again? I know what I'm taking. The summer events are clearly less of a priority for Epic Games than the winter and the Halloween events, and I think that's perfectly fine. If they can match the quality of this year's summer event and purely just give us something to do while they're on vacation, I'll consider it pretty good. What have I done? This season, we also said goodbye to an old friend, Team Rumble. Team Rumble, a game that has been a staple in Fortnite since midway through Chapter 1, had been seeing a decline in player numbers for years, but even after 7 years, the game managed to retain a steady 1,000 to 2,000 players. So Epic got rid of it. Go next, my friend. In its place, Epic released Respawn Rumble, a team-based respawn-enabled game mode where players would drop down from the battle bus, loot up, and try to reach a certain number of eliminations before the enemy team. Wait a second. It's the same bloody game! Only this time they've taken out the variety of a different storm circle every game, and instead they've made it take place in Utopia City every single match. At first it was fine because Epic said that there would be a constant rotation of locations in Respawn Rumble, so here I was thinking that maybe every week we'd switch to a new location on the map. Maybe one week we'll get Supernova Academy or Demon's Domain. We're still at Utopia City. It's almost been 2 months. Whose idea was this? To take a beloved game mode that had a retained player base, remove it, make it worse, make false promises, remove all the branding, and say, go on, get it! Reload also got an update this season to add the Squid Game map into rotation. I don't like this one. It was the first collab map to ever be added to Reload, which already didn't sit well with me. Because I've always considered Reload to be a celebration of Fortnite's history. You know, considering how the loot pool is based off of old weapons, the map is based off of old locations and themes, and all the maps up until this point have had strong theming to chapters 1 and 2. But no, it's Squid Game, I guess. The map isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's definitely serviceable. And they even have a few remix locations in this map, like Phony Crossroads, which is a remix of Chapter 3's Coney Crossroads, as well as... That's it. The map is just too big for me, and it feels like such a departure from Reload that it's completely deterred me from playing the game mode. Not to mention the fact that they removed my favorite map, Oasis, from rotation in favor of this map, despite the fact that Tilted Towers, Pleasant Park, and Retail Row on the Venture map have been in the game for the past year and a half, and even if they did remove Venture, then they would still be in the game in Fortnite OG, so really it wouldn't change much. No. Instead, the variety of biomes in Reload have been completely removed, and instead we have green. A game mode that did work, however, was Blitz Royale. Blitz Royale took out the Venture map, also known as the worst bloody one, cut out most of it and threw it into the wild. Great. According to all the data I've accumulated, Blitz Royale should absolutely not be able to work in any way, shape, or form. Zero build, instead of an unbalanced flat map where games only take 5 minutes? No. That is going to be a disaster. It's Fortnite's most played game mode and has received a new update for every week that it's been active inside of the game, including but not limited to an Avatar update, Ninja Turtles update, Mythic Bosses update, a Boon update, and a Mega City update. What was once an LTM has turned into a full staple game mode because of how easily it's been able to retain players. Blitz Royale is both everything I ever wanted out of Fortnite, and yet I also fear for 3 months down the line where everyone's brains have been rotted due to the fast-paced attention span scraping gameplay loop, and we can barely function without pop-up appearing on our screen. This is probably part of Epic Games' world domination tactic to make everyone so stupid that they'll just buy everything they put into the shop. Oh wait, no! But hey, that's a story for another day. But for my next long form video, it's about Blitz. Watch it. Chapter 6 Season 3 to me is a showcase that Fortnite can still recapture the magic that I felt like it lost after Chapter 3 ended. This season had everything I could ever really want and impressed me even when I went into the season with no expectations for it. It had POIs that were interesting and felt like they belonged in the game and its story, items and weapons that felt like they had uses in the loot pool and players weren't funneled into using specific weapons for a meta, consistent updates which kept the game fresh, as well as decent story which had a strong beginning but I think faltered when it came to certain elements in the execution, as well as continuity between game modes and seasons. This season is definitely one of my favorite seasons of all time, and it's proved to me that Fortnite does still have it. And if anything, I think it's just made me realize that I hate collab seasons even more than I thought I did. But hey, that's a story for another day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was a little bit of a mess. I'm hoping to do more long-form style videos, maybe once a month. If you like long-form content, then my other channel, BigCraigd, is perfect for you. It's just long-form, uninterrupted, basically unedited gameplay. It's very fun. I like doing those videos. And in case you don't know, we also have channel memberships. They're £3 a month, and they give some pretty cool features like emojis, loyalty badges, priority reply to comments, some other stuff as well, like the brand new director's commentaries that I'm going to be making for my short films. The one for Rest in Peace should be out right now, or it should be out within a few hours of this video releasing. I hope you enjoy that. Thank you to all my current channel members. You guys are pretty cool. And also, thank you to everyone who used code BigCraigd the past month. You have helped fund this video. Okay, bye-bye.